Welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. Got another brew. Haven't been brewing stouts in a while, and I've kind of been, they say, chomping at the bit to brew a stout. And I had all those nice, lovely flavored stouts recently from Wicked Weed. So figured we'll make a stout, and then we'll make it a flavored stout. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a red velvet stout. And I don't think we're gonna need very much of this. It's sugar and natural flavorings. Plant extracts. Basically, there's nothing fake in here, nothing to give you a funky off taste. But of course, since we're gonna do a back sweeten when we're done, we'll get to taste the stout before we add it. And on top of that, we can control how sweet it is. We don't want an overly sweet, although we want a good silky mouthfeel. So I planned the grains based on that and to just make it a great stout. So what we're looking at, I got, of course, our Anvil, or Jaded. I mean, come on. You gotta have a great chiller if you're gonna have a great brewing system. So, got 6 pounds of Maris Otter. Doing a stout, thought about 2-row, but no, we gotta do Maris Otter. Got 2 pounds of Munich. Munich is gonna give us a nice little more sweet taste to it. Got a pound of oats. Not like an oatmeal stout, but you know, that's to help with the mouthfeel. I've got 2 things to go to kind of give that nice creamy mouthfeel and carry that flavor. Got a pound of Vienna. Vienna's gonna give it a little hint of biscuity. I didn't want to go all the way to victory, so we're there. But then again, also we need some chocolate. So I've got 12 ounces of chocolate wheat. Don't get quite as much of a roasty flavor in there. And I got 12 ounces of pale chocolate. Figure between the two, I didn't want to go all one or all of the other, so I kind of went right in the middle of the two. And then 4 ounces of caramel or crystal malt 80. Just a little bit of toffee, a little hint of sweet also added in there. The hops I'm looking to use is Magnum, just for a bittering hop. It's gonna be our early edition, nothing big. Gotta verify I have it. I'm pretty sure I have it in stock. And we'll add that. I was thinking 90 minutes, but I'm debating on reducing the boil, but we'll figure it out. Like I said, I'm all over the place sometimes on the last minute deciding what I wanna do. Good example is I've got 6 yeasts going. I'm only gonna use one. I was looking to use Weist 1332 Northwest Ale. It just sounded appropriate. Whenever I pick yeast and somebody's like, hey, how do you figure out what yeast you wanna use? I don't just say, hey, this is the yeast I'm using every single time. What I do is I try to figure out what I want at the final brew. How do I want this to taste in the end? And then I read the descriptions and I decide, you know, do I want it to be super dry? That's what I want a little bit, but I don't want it overly dry because we want it to be a little on the sweet side, just a hint. I also look at, you know, would the fruit or aromatics that maybe that yeast may give off, or esters, would they complement the flavors I'm trying to accomplish? So I was leaning towards, like I said, Northwest Ale 1332 from Weist, but I also smell all the yeasts. And as you know, one of the recent brews we did, which was the pumpkin, we did the London, White Labs London 013. I love that for darker beers. It works, and it works great for the pumpkin. But actually, I'm kind of leaning right now towards the British Ale 11 OYL-48 from Omega. As I was smelling the yeast, and I have, like I said, 6 of them going, it just smelled perfect. So as they start getting going, I'll check them this morning. I started them late yesterday. The one that has the best smell is the one I'm probably gonna use, as long as I don't end up having a expected high finish gravity. I don't want the gravity to be crazy high because it's gonna be overly sweet. So I need to take that into a consideration too. But right now I've got British Dry from White Labs London, from White Labs Melbourne 59. Love Melbourne, it's a great yeast. It's a lot like the California yeast. Just a little more citrus going on. It lets the hops shine, still lets the malts come through. And then I'll have Weist British Ale 1098, or the other one's kind of in the running. If nothing else, I'm helping to repopulate my yeasts for my yeast bank so I can keep up that and not have to keep buying yeast unless I want a fresh one or I need it because I don't have it, or just decided time to replace it. So let's get brewing. Almost forgot. Gonna add a little lactose. Leaning towards 12 ounces of lactose, which is a little on the high side. Sitting at about 6%. Usually I say keep it around 5. May drop it to 8, but I'm probably gonna throw in the whole 12. That'll give it a nice creamy, silky taste with the oatmeal and a hint of sweet, which is just what we're gonna need to kind of carry that red velvet flavor. Okay, we're at 152. It's saying actual 151. We've got some chalk and some baking soda. We'll add that after the fact. But for now, I've got some Epsom salt and calcium chloride. Go ahead and add that. know it probably dissolves pretty quick, but I always like to give it a nice stir. Make sure we're good. Lower our malt pipe on in. I'm probably going to put 4 to 6 ounces of rice hulls since we're adding some oatmeal in here, which is about a pound. So I just want to make sure everything keeps flowing. Okay, I forgot something. We're not doing a small batch, but I want to put the small batch adapter in there because, well, I like the slightly higher efficiencies. I think I did a pretty good job of that. Didn't burn myself or anything. Okay, let's go ahead and get mashed in. I like to dump a little bit of the rice hulls in first since they seem to float. That way the grains can catch them and then go on down. See if we can do this the speed method. This is a bigger pot, so it might not be quite as easy. Okay, we gotta put the oatmeal in. Let's go ahead and add some more rice hulls. It's kind of thick. Need to check my water. According to, I can't remember the exact grain weight, but we should be at 7.6 total. Hold back 1 gallon for sparging. I held back 1.6 gallons instead of the 1.5 just because it was easier for measuring purposes. And as you see me probably dripping out here, it is very, very humid. We'll get the pump and get this going. And the pump is on. Flowing a little too much. Juice that. Kind of weird. If I let the pump go close to full, there's no noise. If I restrict it quite a bit, it makes a little vibrating noise. Rock and roll. Okay, I've kept it at 80%. Seems to keep the temperature regulated so it doesn't jump or have big spikes. We're gonna go up to 168 and get ready to sparge out. It'll only take a few minutes to get there and then we'll go 10 minutes and be done. I'm gonna heat up the sparge water. Yeah, I see some people in the forums and the chat saying, or comment section even saying they don't have that problem. I don't know how. Okay, we're gonna let that drain for a little bit and then we'll start sparging. I'm gonna kick this up to a boil just to get it up there because it's gonna take a little bit. It is at 240, so shouldn't take too long. Took a pH, we were at 5.38 at about 15 minutes in. So we're good right between the 5.2 and 5.6. We do still have some water additions, baking soda and chalk. It'll add some alkalinity, but we're gonna do it into the boil, of course. Okay, a little debris in the background. Been moving my plants around, getting ready to clean off that mat, kind of getting things ready for cooler months so we can hopefully get through the winter with all these lovely pepper plants, or at least the majority of them. Okay, we're gonna let that drip for a little bit. We're getting close to a boil. We're at 180. Okay, we're at 192. If you've ever added baking soda to boiling water, you can get a boil over. So don't do that. So we're gonna go ahead and drop in our last bit of brewing salts. A little more on the alkaline side. See it all fizzed up. Boiling, we definitely get close to a boil over. The classic scrape the bottom. And everything got dark, instant shade. It's nice when the sun goes behind the clouds for a minute. Okay, we're at 196. We know we'll start boiling somewhere around 208, 210, and we can rock on, start our countdown. Okay, we're at 208, now it says 209, and as you can see, it's coming up. It's not gonna boil over, but give it a nice stir. Some of that heat. There we go. Okay, we got a 90-minute boil. I changed the hops from Magnum to Columbus, and instead of a 90-minute edition, we're gonna do 65, which will put us right up about the 55 mark for IBUs. approximate, of course, but the 55 will be a better balance with all the sweetness that we should have going on between the lactose and then the back sweetening with the red velvet cake dessert-like flavoring. So once we add that, I figure the bitterness will be well accepted, as it will balance out all that sweetness and won't make it so overly sweet. It's all about balance, and sometimes it's not, but this time it is. In a somewhat quiet afternoon, and out everybody's mowing their lawn, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to use the hop basket. I only have one hop edition. I've been using these bags since brewing a bag and love them. They lasted for pretty much ever. Do have a couple that have seen better days that I think I'm getting ready to toss. We got 1 ounce of Columbus, which smells amazing. YouTube, you got to get that smell-o-vision. There we go. Really not going for aroma or anything. Should be fine. Won't go anywhere. Give it a good stir. We got a 65-minute countdown. We're on the last 10 minutes. Got a flock tablet, or whatever you call it. I've never actually used these. I've always used straight Irish moss or the super moss. So you're supposed to. There we go. And we're gonna drop in the, I decided to go for the full 12 ounce lactose. Drop that in there. While we're at it, we'll drop a little yeast nutrient in there. Periodically run the pump just to make sure whatever's in there is moving along, or say rotate it a little bit. Ow, crap, that's hot. Okay, so let me get the chilling hooked up. Okay, I'm not worried about a minute on the hot bag. I took the hot bag out, strained it. It's a matter of plus or minus seconds. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to kick on the water. Looks really good. Pure chocolate. We know it's not, but hey, it looks good. It smells good. I did get a little hint of roast when I was putting in the grains, but time to chill that bad boy down. Kick our agitation on per se. And it's starting to rain. The brew must go on, but we're about done. Okay, I'm gonna call it. It says 77. Time we get moved in the house, it'll be 76, 75. We'll be all good. Let's turn off this pump since it's a little noisy. We're still going. Okay, we're gonna bring this on inside and rock and roll. Wasn't really that long of a brew day. Just kind of felt like it. One thing I did do is, for some reason, I got a lot of bits of grain in here, and the grain bed looked good. Not sure what happened. So a little trick I do, and I know some of you all out there probably do the same thing. Clean a funnel. Make sure it's got a filter on it. Star sand, water, hot water, clean spoon, and dump your wort after you've measured it, which we got about 5.5 gallons, and that's my mistake. I went for a 75-minute boil instead of a 90-minute, so we ended up with an extra ¼ gallon, which, yeah, it is what it is. Now, based on that, had we boiled off that ¼ gallon, we would have been sitting around 79.5% brew house efficiency, which technically we still are, which is more wort than we wanted. We want to go, I always want to go for about 5¼ gallons, knowing with the trub and everything, I'll end up with 5 gallons in my keg. So, but what you do is when you dump beer from one carboy to another, you let it spin around in here. It helps aerate it, of course, and then it gets all the gunk in there. And all I do is use my spoon when it's clogged, kind of unclog it, give it a minute, take this out, dip it in hot water to get all the gunk off, put it back, and let it finish. You gotta be very careful because you could, of course, contaminate something. So make sure everything's nice and clean, then I go clean everything else after the fact. Number 2, if you've seen this rodeo before, you know a lot of times I'm doing at least 2 to 4, sometimes 8 yeasts in the background, because either I don't know which one I want, or I know a few that I'm looking to use, but also I figure I might as well repopulate my yeast bank, should we say. So as you're looking here, you're looking at White Labs British Dry, White Labs London, Melbourne. I love Melbourne, it's so good. It's like California 051, which is just like 001, but instead it has a little bit of fruitiness. The Melbourne yeast, they don't put it out year round, but it is just like 051 on a little bit of steroids. I love it. Great for American IPAs, stouts, you name it, it works really well. Also got Weist 1098, Weist 1332, and Omega OYL 48 British 11, which they don't appear to make anymore. And the one I had planned on using was the Weist 1332, which is right here. It smells a lot better now that it's, spent a day on the starter. It smells really, really good. I may have to use that for something else, maybe an IPA or something. What's funny is the White Labs one that's kind of fresh started falling out of suspension as soon as I took it off the stir plates. And yes, I have a lot of stir plates. You've seen the video on do-it-yourself stir plates for like 30 bucks if you have some of the crafts around home. They're awesome. They're super easy and you do them right in the box. I've got another video coming up where I do the same thing, but instead we're gonna make it a little more simplistic and we're gonna show you how to add heating to it for about 80 bucks, or $8, 80, there we go, for $8 for up to 4 stir plates. So 2 sets of these, and you have the perfect heated stir plate for your Quake yeast whenever you're doing the Norwegian yeasts, or even some of the Norwegian or Lithuanian farmhouse yeasts. I've smelled them all. They all smell really good, and they all are a little more distinct. The Melbourne, God, I'm like dying to do another beer, preferably an IPA with that. But we're gonna go ahead and use the Omega 48. And again, you've seen this rodeo. Stir bar's in there. That holds the stir bar in place. That way it doesn't fall around. But our gravity, I think I misconfigured the tilt when I calibrate it, because when you calibrate a tilt, the number goes away and you hit calibrate. So if it changes, you don't see it, which I kind of need to put a suggestion on there for their next app upgrade to make it come up underneath it so you can actually see what it says and what you're calibrating. But we got a 1.068, which is gonna put us around 7% ABV. We were looking for about 6.7 ABV. I'm good with 7%. 7% is what I call the magic number for IPAs because they taste great right around that number. Oh, where did I just put the funnel? I see it. I think I just picked up something else metal. Nope. Take our filter out. We don't want to filter the yeast. Need to keep about half of this because this is the last of my 048, and like I said, they don't appear to make it anymore. So that's plenty. Can't remember if this is the first beer I've ever made with it, but either way, I think it's the second. But either way, I want to keep it until they either start making it again or I find something I like even better. So. That's all, folks. We're gonna put this in the fermenter. It did say that it's gonna let off some fossil fuel and stuff if I let it get hot. Recommended, I believe it was 66 Fahrenheit to 75. So I'm gonna try to keep it down right at about 66, knowing that once it starts fermenting, it'll probably pump it up around 72, 73. So I definitely wanna kind of keep the temperatures in line. But don't forget, like, subscribe. Definitely check out the 10 recommendations I keep doing every week. I will keep doing that until I'm out. If you have any suggestions, please put them down below. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you again for joining us at Bitter Reality Brewing. This is part one of two. And once this is done fermenting, but once it's done fermenting, then we'll do the back sweetening with the Red Velvet from Amoretti, and we should be rocking and rolling.